Hey guys, today I'm here to show you a really solid keybind setup for the Logitech G Farm Sim Vehicle Side Panel for Farming Simulator 22 on PC. This guide is only for PC, as I really can't say how any of this would or wouldn't be compatible with consoles. I'll include some tips for the Logitech G29 or the G920 steering wheel as well, mostly making sure that its force feedback is working okay with the game, but I have a couple of keybinds on that as well that I'll tell you about. Personally, I play FS22 with the G920 wheel and pedals and the Farm Sim side panel that we're covering in this video. I got links to that in the description below, but that's what I'm using. FS22 will automatically recognize the wheel, pedals, and side panel and bind some keys to them right out of the box, but their keybinds are sparse and they kind of suck. The keybind setup I'll show you in this video is well thought out with all of the buttons where you need them to be. In the first part, I'll address the wheel and pedals to get that out of the way with its settings in the Logitech software and any issues you may have with the force feedback. The second part of the video will cover the side panel. I have chapters set up so that you can go directly to the next chapter if you just want the keybinds for the side panel. Okay, if you have the wheel, if you have the G920 like I have, or if you have the G29, you're going to have this window here, basically your Logitech software thing. And I didn't really set anything up here per se, just click the steering wheel and go there. And the reason I pull this up and mention this is because sometimes, every once in a while, I have options with the force feedback. You can see the settings I have here. Every once in a while, if I have options with the force feedback, I just pull this application up and just uncheck this box and recheck it, and it'll snap your wheel back in a position where it should be. Like that's pretty much it, aside from just a couple settings I have there, and I think those may all just be default. Really, everything you're going to want to do is in the program. So let's go to the program real quick and cover this and the couple of keybinds that I have set up on the wheel, and then we'll get to the next section. Okay, in the game at the main title, when you the first thing you want to do, which technically is before you fire up the game, if you're having issues with force feedback and you're using the wheel, you do not want to have a controller plugged in. I was previously playing this with an Xbox controller, and this happens to a lot of people. They get a wheel, they plug it in conjunction with the controller, it all works, but there's no force feedback. Your wheel is just limp. That's because it's using it on gamepad mode. So you need to fire the game up without your gamepad plugged in. I don't plug in my Xbox controller at all. These keybinds, between these keybinds and your keyboard and mouse, you won't need a controller. I don't plug mine in at all, but you could probably plug it in later and it wouldn't affect anything, but I don't chance that. So that right out of the box is the solution to a lot of people not having their force feedback working like it should. It should adjust pressure depending on your speed, the speed of your steering, your vehicle, etc. On foot and vehicle will be different. If you just have a steady steering all the time with like a notch at upright position, but other than that it's steady, your force feedback's not working. When it's working, it'll change just like it does in a car. So firing the game up without a controller, you're going to want to go to this options menu here at the main screen, because you won't be able to choose some of these options once you're in the game. So we're going to come here and let's see. Okay, this stuff here, we'll just it won't necessarily be in order. This stuff here, I set all the dead zones to 2%. Everything else is default. I just set the dead zones to 2%. That way there's some kind of dead zone in the steering wheel. That way your tractor doesn't like drive itself off the road or something. And then where is that? There's a force feedback. Here it is, force feedback. You won't get this in the game. It's only right here. And I put that at 50%. That's a pretty good amount. 50% after driving my tractor for a couple of hours. My left arm is definitely fairly fatigued from spinning the wheel around, and that feels about right. It feels about like how I think it should. For sure, set that however you want, but make sure that's set to on. Set it to 50%. For the next options, it looks like we're going to have to go into the game because I don't see the next options here. So I'm going to load up the game and go into the next options. Now I want to talk about the actual controls themselves and some options that you have to do once you're in the game, which you are here. We're going to start with the steering wheel, and then I'll move and do the entire side panel section. So first of all, there's going to be 3 controls that I'll reference later that are have to do with certain mods that I have, which are probably pretty common mods everyone has, what have you. Anyway, I'll reference those, and I will show those in the last chapter of the video. From within the game, we're going to have to go to the pause menu here. If you have pedals, then you would know that direction change automatic is almost impossible because you cannot hold down the brake, because the brake pedal is stiff like a car, right? And it's too hard to hold. You can't do it. So what you want to do, there's a couple things you want to do. You want to put this to manual. You can have gear shift mode wherever you want. Gear shift mode, automatic, manual, that doesn't matter. What matters is direction change is on manual. And then you want to go here and bind a key to it. Now, that I will address in the side panel part of the video coming up, because it's on the side panel. It's right next to the stick, so you can easily hit it in reverse position. It is not the first one you come to in here. I'm going to show you where it's at. It is not this right here. See where I'm pointing? It's toggle steering mode and toggle steering mode reverse. That is not it. That is the tractor actually, reverse drive in the cab, like swapping your seat around. I'm on the wrong thing. Gamepad. That's my bad for that. Yeah, make sure you're in the right settings for this. And then we'll find this again here. Change direction. You want to bind that. I have it bound, and I'll go over this in the side panel section. I have it bound to the number 20 button on the side panel because you can easily hit it with your ring finger while you're moving the stick. What that allows you to do, the direction change, it allows you to hold down the gas pedal going forward, hit that button, and instantly be driving just like driving a real loader. Hit that button and you're going in reverse. You don't even have to lift off the gas pedal. You can just toggle your direction. That way, yeah. So that's kind of essential. It's one of those things for if you're using a wheel and pedals. So now there's only, aside from that, there's only a couple buttons on the wheel I want to talk about before we move to the side panel. On the steering wheel, I have the Y button. I have the Xbox version, so the Y button. Because I already have change attachment bound to the side panel, I rebound the Y button, which I guess would be triangle on the PlayStation version of the wheel. I rebound that key to a mod that I have called Enhanced Vehicle. There's a thing on it. Actually, let's just scroll down to it. I don't have too many mods in here. Right here. I bound this to Y, snap direction track, because you're already holding onto the wheel. That way, when you're turning or whatever, all you got to do is just tap Y, let go of the wheel, and your vehicle will keep going in that direction with whatever tolerance, that you have it set to. The other key that I bound on the wheel is actually the D-pad. My wheel doesn't have any control sticks, so without a gamepad plugged in, I don't have a way to move around. So I took the binds off of my D-pad. I changed vehicles with the side panel, which is really kind of more handy anyway, because I hate accidentally hitting change vehicle when I'm trying to zoom in or out, right? My D-pad, I have that set so that when I'm on foot, I can walk around with the D-pad with my thumb on the wheel. It's really handy. If you want to do that, that's really handy. And then change vehicles in the side panel. When you're in a vehicle, I still have up and down to zoom in and out. And then I have left and right as turn signals, but that's up to you. Those are good handy tips for keybinds on the steering wheel, and that's really it. Everything else I left default because out of the box, the Logitech steering wheel is set up just like an Xbox controller, so there's no need to do anything else with it. Part 2, the side panel. This is the Logitech G Farm Sim vehicle side panel. Right here, I've made this infographic as informative as I could. It's pretty much self-explanatory. So if you want to, you could just take this and have a great day. But I will explain everything I can to you, including some choices and such like that. Again, the last chapter of the video, I will explain a couple of mod dependencies that I show here. There's 3 hotkeys I have that go to mods, which are very, very handy quality of life mods. They're all available in the Mod Hub, and probably everyone has them or knows about them. Anyway, so I have this set up in kind of like control groups. You can see right here in the image, it's pretty basic. So I didn't do anything with the stick or button number 23. Those were already bound. I didn't see any need to change them, so I left those blank. And you can see there's some blank spaces there, and I'll get into the intricacies of this. Those blank spaces, do with them what you will. I haven't bound them yet, but they're there in case I need them. So they're kind of in control groups. The pink, purple buttons, those are like base vehicle functions, like engine start, change your steering to like crab steering, all-wheel steering, whatever. Your drive direction, that's your actual drive direction, not your transmission forward or reverse, as I spoke of in the previous chapter. That's your actual turn the seat around, like in a Valtra or something like that. So these are actually base vehicle functions, lights, things like that. You can see right there. And then orange is kind of like your base attachment functions, like previous tool, next tool, cover, swapping on the combine, pipe out, dump, or dump on the ground. And I should probably address that now. The button number 21, the big spacebar looking button, I made it into a modifier. I don't have it bound. It's a modifier. If you didn't know you could do that, you can. So there's that. So that lets you double the number of buttons on there. So for instance, the button 10, you just press it, dump, or if you, dump on ground. That's a really handy way to do it. Just holding the 21 button with your thumb. All right, so the yellow buttons are basically your auxiliary tool functions, as you can see. There are binds in your, if you scroll through your keybinds, and make sure you're in the gamepad section. Don't waste time in the keyboard section like I did on accident. I do that sometimes. If you scroll down to somewhere in there, this is fairly self-explanatory, and you've probably been through the keybinds yourself. There is a bind called tool function 1, tool function 2, 3, and 4. Tool function 1, I will talk about in a moment. So to 11, 13, and 15, you can see I have tool function 2, 3, and 4. Tool function 2 is generally going to be like if you're in a truck, lower the tailgate, stuff like that, right? And then exactly, and then 3 and 4 are like additional ones. Some tools have more functions, right? So I thought those would be good for those buttons. And then you can see on 12 and 16, I don't have anything on just regular press because they're open. So if I find something I don't have, I can put it on there and you can do whatever you want. But I think these all work pretty well. You can see the other ones that I have hotkeyed there. The main buttons you use the most, the blue and green buttons, are the ones, they're the closest, easiest to hit with your index or ring finger on your right hand, assuming you're right-handed. They're easiest to hit right there. So yeah, lower all tools, or hold shift, or sorry, lower tool or hold shift and lower all tools, etc. Right? Same with tool on off. 19 is actually just fold all. I can't say I've ever had a time where I don't want to fold or unfold all my tools. If you do, I guess, hey, you know, bind whatever you want. That I have that, and then holding shift in 19 on my setup is block axle. Now that goes to a mod, which I will show at the end of the video in the last chapter. The reverse toggle is in the 20 button. That's exactly where it needs to be because that is the most hit button on my side panel. Especially if you're running a loader and you're going back and forth, it allows you to just hold the gas pedal and reach up with your ring finger and just tap 20 to go forward, back, forward, back. And I told in the steering wheel chapter, the previous chapter, I told how to set that up. And then 23 is already bound with something. I think it's something to do with crane or something that I don't use. 22, I bound to the help, you know, the drop down that shows you your keybinds in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. I don't use that. I usually play with it off, so I toggle it on and off a lot because sometimes I need to see them, you know, the controls. So that's really handy to toggle help on or off. And then 24 is the map toggle, which is by default left bumper and left stick. You know, this toggles the size of your map because I like to play with my map off. I like to play with as little HUD as possible. Personally, I have those bound there so I can turn the left half of my screen off. Now, as far as the wheel there, the wheel by default is cruise control. Press it to cruise control, up to go faster, down to go slower. I didn't see any reason to change that. Works fine the way it is. However, I did add a shift function to it. I took change vehicle off of my D-pad. I use my D-pad to move around on foot because without a controller, I don't have a way to. So also, I don't like accidentally changing my vehicle while I'm trying to zoom in and out. Have you ever had that happen? Yeah, it's annoying. So shift in the wheel, I think works really well to change vehicles because you're not doing it like all the time, right? I think it's pretty much everything covered. I know I glazed over that pretty quick, but there's, yeah, the infographic is pretty informative, I think. I put everything on there that you need to know. So that is how I have all the controls set up for this. Let me know if you have any questions. There's links in the description below to the exact products I have if you want to see that for whatever reason. And okay, now I will show you the mods I refer to. There's actually 3 I mentioned. Oh yeah, there's one. It's on the yellow keys. Oh yeah, number 14, shift and 14, create field. It's a mod. I believe it's called create field with cultivator or something. It allows you to create field with anything. So I will go show you the 3 mods that I referenced just to be thorough with this. Okay, now for the 3 mods I mentioned that I have hotkeyed, these are mods which I always have installed on any farming simulator game, no matter what map I'm playing on. These are just basic quality of life stuff, really basic stuff. One of them is create fields with cultivator. I believe this is on the mod hub, and I have that set at shift and 14 on my side panel. I mentioned that, so here it is. These should all be mod hub ones. And it allows you to, yeah, create a field with any kind of earthworking tool. And then another one is trailer axle blocker. And that allows you to back up those tricky wagons by locking the axle straight. I think this is kind of essential. I never play without it, so I assume you may know the one I'm talking about. And I have it hotkeyed on shift and 19 to block my axle. And for the last one, I mentioned in the steering wheel section, I have my Y button hotkeyed to snap vehicle direction on enhanced vehicle here. I think this came off the mod hub, but this mod here, it's a very basic, it's a quality of life thing. I mean, it's so handy. Even if you only use it to snap your direction, it lets you put down your steering wheel for a second and do something else. All right, guys, so that is everything I got to give you on this hotkey keybind setup for the side panel. I hope it works for you. A lot of time went into this, and well, I've played with it a lot of time. I've probably put 20 or so hours into this setup since I've used it, and I have no need to change anything, and there's spaces to add stuff still. So it's really, really solid. Everything feels organic. Everything's right in the space where it needs to be next to similar functions and stuff like that. I think if you guys have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comments below, and check out some of the content here on the channel. Maybe subscribe. There's always farming simulator videos, playthroughs, and things like that. Guys, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know, and I'll catch you guys next time.